Our state has some incredible problems. My name is Lynn Hinderrocker. I'm here to talk about that with you and talk about the trends that have shaped this state and dragged us in one direction or another. We're not really we're not realizing the dream we had way back in the early 2000s or even around 2008 or 9 or 10. My name is Lynn Hinderrocker. Welcome to WowBiz Nebraska. We're going to get it on right now. How to launch a new product. Thanks for watching WowBiz Nebraska tonight. We're going to focus on that. My name is Lynn Hinderrocker. There's a lot that goes into deciding, considering, strategizing, implementing, measuring. Launching a new product is a process, but it's absolutely key. In fact, I'm going to tell you this, 3M, we all know who they are. They kick out 200 new products a year in a variety of industries that they're serving. So keep in mind, it can be done, and many of the business owners and civic officials in the state of Nebraska just need to relax and embrace the general idea of how do we launch more new products and get the state kind of excited about that so that we can stop brain drain and keep the 4,500 or so young professionals here in this state. They want to be with a company and a community that does new and exciting things. I know that because, of course, I conducted research with them in late 2019, and they told me specifically, nobody does anything new. They're just doing the same old thing. Now, I'm going to tell you how to launch a new product today. It's going to take up the first half of the show. By the way, this show is brought to you by Jan Pro of Omaha, Nebraska, the #1 commercial cleaning operation in the community, in the metro area. We'll get back to that a little bit later. All right. Several years ago, this story kind of starts a ways back, a little before 2008. I guess it'd be 2007 or so. And there's an organization in Chicago that I came across, and they were interested. They were in the men's manufacturing of cologne industry. That was their industry. A lot of people wonder where colognes come from. This company right there was in a suburb of Chicago. That was what they had done for a number of years. Anyway, they went to Atlanta to a trade show, and this was an African-American consumer product show kind of thing. A lot of new vendors were there showing their wares to the black segment of the market. And they spent a couple days there, and they studied some statistics and data and so on, and they were really impressed about the buying power and maybe the underserved buying power of the black market, the black men's market in particular. And we're talking now about men that own clothing stores, men's clothing stores, and they usually own them in sections of urban areas, Chicago, New York, etc., that are dominated mostly by the black population. So that's what we're talking about here. They realized that these black men's clothing stores had maybe an opening for their products, of course, men's cologne. So they didn't quite know if they should try to sell them the existing cologne line. It didn't seem quite right, like it was a natural fit. Some of those colognes were quite traditional and been around a long time. So they said, we need to come up with a new line of colognes to serve this very important segment because we think there's a great potential here. So long story short, we found each other, and I do a lot of research for companies. So I said, I tell you what, I said, before you go any further, it's a great idea, but before you go any further, let's find out exactly how to do it. Let's go talk to the end user. They said, really, how are you going to do that? I said, well, I'm going to go downtown Chicago. That's where I'm going to go, Wacker Street, and we'll figure out a way to talk to end users who use men's cologne. We'll see what they're thinking about insofar as your category, and so you can launch something successfully. So I happen to have a good friend who was a video producer at the time, the late Jim Nelson, a wonderful guy, happened to be an African-American professional as well. And the two of us flew to New York. We went Chicago, went right downtown there on Wacker. And we also called a kind of a modeling agency there in the Chicago area and said we want one or two great-looking young black women and to kind of hang around outside because we're going to do this on the sidewalk. We're going to do this right out on the street, on the sidewalk right beside Wacker. And we got that. Very nice lady came into the package there. So we said, you just kind of hang out here around the camera. We're going to have a video shooter here. And, kind of attract the men, and we'll get them all lined up and maybe get their names and an email or whatever. And I will be interviewing them on camera for, maybe 10 minutes at a time. So it was very interesting and exciting experience. We got it right raw feedback, you know. And it was surprising how many of these men were eager to talk about their cologne and what it meant to them and how it fit into their lifestyle. What we learned as we went, I must have interviewed, oh my goodness, 20, 25, 30 men, some of them younger, some of them older. And they told me, among other things, that they use cologne a lot, number one. They're heavy users. And they'll sprinkle it on in the morning, you know, as many men do, by the way, after they shave or whatever. And then at lunch, though, they may go out to the car, into the glove box or the glove compartment there. They may take a bottle right there and have it right there in the glove, and you know, just freshen up or give themselves a couple spritzes on their suit lapel or whatever. So they do that then. That's the second time. And then after work is over, they will typically, and that's what these gentlemen all told me, they would typically maybe go to a bar or a restaurant or meet somebody after work. Not unusual. And once again, they would just put a little extra cologne on before they went into that part of their day, and then they went home. So 3 times a day. Now, as listening to this, I heard this pattern repeated, similar, you know, many times. And I asked them at one point, I said, you know, you're telling me you have a bottle of cologne in the glove compartment. I've got a mic here, and there's people all around. They're kind of listening. And I said, is that ever a problem? And more than once, but I'll never forget this older gentleman who said, yeah, that is a problem. They do break sometimes, depending on what's going on. So he said, and that's a real mess, you know, and you got to clean it up with napkins and so on. So he said, and I said, you know, have you ever eaten at a barbecue restaurant? Oh yeah. You see the packets that they bring you, you know, with the sauce and everything, you put it on, extra on the side? Oh yeah, sure, I'm aware of that. I said, I wonder, what if there was cologne on those barbecue napkins with a packet, little plastic packet, and instead of the hard glass bottle there in your glove compartment? So more than once they said, well, that seems like that would solve the problem. Yeah, that would be a great idea. That would be a good idea. So I said, let me think about this now. So we're talking about a tissue, kind of a paper thing that would open up, a special kind, and it would be drenched with the cologne that we're talking about, whatever that is. And you'd be able to wipe it on your hands, your face, and really wipe it on your jacket a little bit, whatever you want to do. Same thing as you would distribute, of course, a regular bottle of cologne on your person. Well, anyway, again and again, they said there was a problem there, and what I just described to you would be a good solution. They're obviously unbreakable with the packets. So I went back to the client, and this was exciting news. We kind of put it all into a short video, and he reviewed the highlights of the whole experience, and he said, that's a winner. He said, what's the next step, Lynn? I said, well, we probably should be making up names of colognes, just decide how many we want to do. I would guess at least 2 or 3, so we have a full lineup. Think about where we'd sell them. Of course, we've got to have a reseller, a retailer of some sort to resell them for us. Probably a convenience store, by the way. That was always the key issue, because we're going to try to make this an inexpensive, low consideration purchase. So they'll see something standing there, they see a display, they're paying for whatever they're buying, cigarettes or milk or whatever they're doing, and then they see the display, and the price point is critical, because at that time they're not planning on buying those colognes, but it looks real attractive, upscale, and maybe they pick it up for $2, $3, $4, $5 per packet. Remember, each packet is just like one application. All right, so that was the general idea. Then we went out and we came up with names. Of course, this is the fun part with branding new men's cologne. We came up with 3 names. I'm going to share them with you right now. One was called Covert, which is perfect for the late night nightclub cruiser, so to speak. Another one was called Trillion, obviously speaking of wealth and status and prestige. And then the other one was called Helios, which is kind of a seductive, Mediterranean, out in the sun, barely clothed kind of an idea. Helios. So we had this lineup, and it was really fun to come up with these names, of course, and we chose this amongst a group of people. So we had Covert, Trillion, and Helios. Then, of course, we had to get a display company, a manufacturer, and they developed a beautiful little plastic display. I'm going to show it to you right now. You're going to see what this men's cologne display looks like. And remember, these are pieces of paper. I don't want to call them kind of a rag type of thing, in a sealed cellophane, kind of high quality looking packet, about, I would say maybe 2.5 inches square, and very exciting, and they display very well against a black plastic display that's fairly lightweight, so they can fit right in there near the cash register at a convenience store. That was the key idea, and of course we're a little concerned about theft. They'd be awfully easy to pick up, so we also thought about creating a heavy plastic case cover to kind of protect them from some accidental theft and so on. But I think you can see 3 different products here. They all stand for something different in the lifestyle of the user. That's kind of interesting. The psychology of it is so exciting. But this is a product that has never, I want to say this again, never been produced and distributed before. The concept was a breakthrough when it came to utilizing, obviously, I want to call them rags or paper material that was drenched in a high quality cologne. By the way, Michael Jordan was the favorite that they spoke of. They all like Michael Jordan, so we talked about maybe having something similar but different, of course. So there you go. You see a full research-drenched operation. We actually conducted focus groups again before we finally got ready to release them, and then along came the recession of 2008. Some of you don't know about that, but that was a massive recession that kind of shut down all new product activity. But these were 40% margins now. These were really solid add-on products for the convenience store chain. So that's how you launch a new product. You have an idea, you research the audience, you come together with some creative ideas, you produce, you iterate, you try it again, bam, you're ready to go into resale, and that's when the real revenues go up. Thanks so much for watching. This was a fun thing to recap. Who knows, we may see this product in the marketplace eventually again. My name is Len Hinderrocker, and we're, of course, here on WowBiz Nebraska. This show is brought to you by a company many of you may not know, but if you're a property manager, if you're a commercial real estate person, or maybe an investor in real estate, especially insofar as commercial buildings are concerned, you got to know about JanPro. Now, JanPro is a national franchise out of Atlanta. We have a very capable, high-end master franchisor here in the Omaha, Council Bluffs area. And this gentleman has done a tremendous job recruiting families and small groups and putting them in business. That's the number one thing that makes him so proud. Not only do they do a good job, and they have a very interesting hook, by the way, but he's putting people in business. And they are really motivated because obviously it's their business, you know, and they're excited about sustaining it into the long term. Now, there's 3 words as I wrap this up about JanPro of Omaha. You can find them on the web, obviously. But if somebody's saying, what do they have to offer? Now, remember, this is a sophisticated, high-end operation, been around for a long time, but 3 T words, I call them T3. The first one is tools, the second one is technology, and the third one is training. Tools, technology, very important, and training by senior, well-experienced people in this particular, they know how to analyze a building and determine exactly how it can be upgraded and cleaned and meticulous, pristine, one of my favorite words. So there you go, JanPro of Omaha, check them out on the web. And ask for an audit, ask for a free estimate. They'll be happy to do that, and insist on meeting the owner, the franchisor here in the Omaha area. He's dynamite, and I'm sure you'll enjoy knowing this person. All right. Thank you so much for staying with us. And again, we appreciate JanPro for sponsoring us right here on WowBiz Nebraska. You know, innovation, we talked about it in the first half of our show. Innovation's a big thing. You know, when you hear about it, the state chamber talks a lot about let's accelerate innovation, let's do more of it, let's intensify it. Most of the time they're speaking to chambers, mayor people, economic developers, that level of people, and of course in general business owners as well. But they know that innovation, and I'm talking about a lot more innovation than what we're currently doing. It's not that we don't do anything, but if somebody compares us to somebody else, and I'm talking about a 25 or 30, 35-year-old professional, they're going, I want a career where I can drive things and be a part of the big picture and come up with new products and make sure that I'm working for a company that wants to hear me, that wants to hear my ideas, all right? This is a very important thing. So that all leads up to innovation. Now, innovation is a word that kind of small business people get nervous when they hear it because it sounds like something really big and expensive. When we say, well, we're talking about new products and new services, we're talking about new approaches to leadership, we're talking about new cultural approaches, new ways to get employees engaged and involved and thinking about the future, new ways to help employees contribute something, have new ideas and so on, and be recognized for being proactive in that way. So anyway, the word innovative is it's very broad, obviously, and but probably 50% or more of innovation takes place with, as you might guess, new products, right? New products kind of dominate that. I mentioned earlier in the show that 3M researched, produced, distributed, tested, and launched 200 new products a year. Now, they have 2,000 people on their payroll or more, so it's much easier. They have those resources. But all I'm saying is this, is that most of us think of innovation or a new product as something that, well, things are kind of flat. We probably should come up with some variation on our standard product. Maybe we could add this or make it more colorful. I used to be in the hamburger business. Somebody say, well, let's have a half-pound hamburger instead of a quarter-pounder. And there's our innovation. And I'm not saying that that's not a good thing. In many cases, it does help some, although it probably cannibalizes from other parts of the menu or the product lineup and so on. But the idea of getting people together inside your organization, people with diverse backgrounds and histories and different personality types, and getting them together and convincing them to collaborate and work together to identify the problem. Most people say, well, how do you innovate? Where do you begin? Well, first of all, you begin with a keener insight into the problem that the customer faces, all right? It's kind of common sense, but there's kind of a variation now on it. There are trends that are swirling around your customer, different things that are happening in the marketplace, even politics right now. There's a sense of polarization and division and all of that, but there's so many things. As you know, for instance, younger folks have a tendency to not read books much. They like to look at the phones and try to read out of that. Well, if you're in the publishing business, that's bad news, right? So you've got to innovate. You've got to try to find some way to engage the young reader or the young student and somehow get them involved again with a book that you happen to be publishing and distributing through libraries and all of those kinds of outlets. So that is the question, is how do we innovate? And midway into the process, what if I have to work with this guy over here? He's kind of a jerk, and this guy over here seems to be real lazy, doesn't seem to be doing anything. And how do we make this all work so there's a sense of urgency, a sense of progress? We've got to be able to experiment with it and come back. We have Mr. Rees, I believe, was the author of the Lean Startup, and he look for a minimum viable prototype. In other words, come up with a product, agree on the problem, come up with a product, could be something like this, get it out there, see what happens, see what the receptivity is, do a little bit of research, see what initial users of the product have to say, right? And then go back and start all over. Keep thinking it up, keep thinking up variations on it. Some brilliant person talking about innovation said, you start out aiming like this. You're going right towards the problem that the customer experiences. But on your way there, as you start to analyze how the customer makes his decision or doesn't make it and wavers at what point or another point and so on, you see that happening and you realize there's an opportunity right over here. Before we even get to the point that he's got to make a decision, we see there's something over here. He doesn't know where to even look to make the right choice. maybe that's the problem. Maybe that's what we should be working on, and not so much the end user after he's already got the product in his pocket. All kinds of interesting things. You have to allow yourself to kind of circle the problem and play with aspects of the problem. This is what innovation is all about. And by the way, it's tough for CEOs and senior people. They're all about running a tight ship, right? So it's got to be about efficiency and productivity gains every quarter, and work a little harder and stay till 5:15, please, to get that done. And boom, 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 boom. It's very relentless, pressure-filled, super focused, and it can be very, very tiring after a week or a month of doing this kind of thing. But anyway, that's what it's all about, is efficiency. But innovation, not so much. Innovation is often about effectiveness. Right? In other words, they want to get a product out there that's profitable, that people want and will purchase, maybe even pay a premium for, before we sit around and worry about how to make it more efficient to produce. I'm sure you know what I'm saying there, but this is not so easy to do. There are many large companies, they don't want to take 3 steps back and have this conversation about who is the customer. Is there some other customer that we're ignoring? Now, some of you may have heard, if you read a little bit, about blue ocean strategy. I just want to say that's a very important and interesting thing that is kind of easing, it comes out of Harvard, kind of easing its way into the mainstream of business development right now. And their concept is you don't have to go to the existing customer. Everybody's fighting for the attention of the existing customer. We do it cheaper, we're better. That's 90% of all business right now. But as they say in the blue ocean strategy language, shall we say, take a look at a completely different industry, right? Take a look at people who have no idea who you are, would never think about buying your product at all. Work on them. There might be some very interesting things that you can do with them. You can redefine, think about this word redefine, what an industry even is. Now think about that as you think about washers and dryers and security systems. We've all heard of the Internet of Everything, right? The Internet of Everything. So that's a classic example of redefining what are we a part of, what's happening around us, what is the ecosystem. If I were the owner of electronics store in Lincoln, I stopped in, talked to him, Mr. Romero, very briefly, and he's nervous, because the conventional products, no matter how advanced they are, by the way, you still have to walk into a store, look around, talk to a salesman, etc. And he's not selling the ecosystem, the whole thing, right? And how it all works together to create tremendous value that they're not, realizing. They're giving discounts on the floor. We'll give you $27 off if you buy that washer. That's okay, but we have a whole new world in front of us, especially with ChatGPT-4 and some other quantum learning technologies I won't go into today. But that's the key, is to really keep up and project, talk about the future to your customer instead of worrying about price and discounting and getting this deal tonight or it's all over. Yeah. So there we are here at WowBiz Nebraska. We're talking about innovation. We're going to come back to this subject again. Thank you so much for checking me out. The innovation topic is key to Nebraska's revitalization, no matter what business sector you're in, consumer or business to business. Check us out every single week. You'll learn a lot more very faster going forward. I'm Lynn Hinderrocker. I'll see you next time here on WowBiz Nebraska. Thank you.